This week on The Breakdown, we're at the new home of the Log of Wood, but is the Ranfurly Shield destined to stay in the Deep South? And Joey on Jason, the wheels versus the cabbage. What could possibly go wrong?
Good evening and a very warm welcome into The Breakdown for your Tuesday night. Well, it is school holidays and that means Jeff Wilson is on holiday too. But I'm sure he's celebrating from somewhere. It's been a fantastic weekend for the Wilsons, hasn't it? Southland winning and, of course, Otago snatching the Ranfurly Shield.
I'm just glad he's not here. How bad would he be?
It was school holidays for everybody, isn't it? We're on triple time?
Well, I think, yeah, time and a half day in lieu, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
One of the main reasons why I want to come on the show, as always, JK, is just to see what you pull out for us. What are you wearing tonight? It is lovely.
Oh, this is actually a replica 1908 All Black blazer, gentlemen.
That's fantastic. I've never seen anyone run it with a hoodie, but it is very cool.
Do you not read GQ, mate?
I am way behind the fashion at the moment, aren't I, JK?
We're very lucky to have you two here anyway. Joey, you made it out of Dunedin.
I'll tell you what, yeah, good dusting of snow this morning, Kirst. Not as good as Queenstown, but yeah, I was a bit worried there. Sitting on the tarmac for about half an hour beside an old mate that was, smelt like he'd had a couple the night before, so I was pretty happy that the plane took off, although it was a little bit hairy getting out of Dunedin Airport.
I think we've got some vision of you and the whiteout, as you like to call it, a beautiful thing for those of us that don't see snow often. That must have been little Indy in the driver's seat.
Yeah, well, she was. She's very talented for a 2-year-old. Very talented. Long levers like her old man.
And Mitre, great to have you here as well.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's been an extreme few sort of, I guess, weird days of spring down deep south, but it's always nice to be on the show.
We have a big show for you this evening. We're joining Rugby Australia chairman. He's joining us on the show, Hamish McLennan. You can hold all your questions for the JK. Start off by giving us your moment of the weekend.
Yeah, well, I coached this man, Baden Kerr. He's been all around the world, but this will probably never happen to him again. He'll hope anyway.
Yeah.
Donk. So cool and so calm and collected, thinking, that didn't just happen, did it?
I'm going to pick up with my moment of the weekend next, and I've saved mine for the women in the Farah Cup. It is Northland take a bow, Portia Woodman outstanding in this match, and Tyler Nathan Wong as well. So great to see our Black Ferns and our Black Ferns Sevens women's leading the way in our premier competition.
Danny Hawkins must have been taking some notes because he pulled one out in the men's game as well for the Tunny Fast. So
not a bad
exactly
effort.
the same spot. Brilliant game of footy.
There you go. Joey, you're up next.
My moment of the round was seeing Davey Harvilli come back for Tasman, score 3 tries. The guy is an absolute freak, was probably alongside Geordie Barrett, the form fullback of Super Rugby Aotearoa, and then obviously with his little operation that he had after swallowing a toothpick, believe it or not.
Is that what it was?
To get that removed, yeah, it must have been a pork belly or a bit of chicken wrapped in bacon. Yeah, nasty. And then got that removed, half his bowel gone. Form hasn't gone though, Marshy. No. He's been outstanding. Got to be on the All Blacks tour for that 7 weeks in Australia, I believe. Can play 10 out to 15. Fantastic talent.
Can't argue with you there, mate. Yeah, my moment for the weekend, Tyrone Thompson. Look, there's no doubt about it that as an old retired rugby player, you feel very, very comfortable sitting and not having to defend against this. Forwards basically running like backs. An outstanding effort, really well worked move around the front of the line out. And it reminds me, there's definitely something in the water down there in Wellington. So. Because remember this from a couple of years ago, Asafa Almoa. Now, that's George Bridge that he's gone around there. And again, I feel very, very sorry for backs when forwards in Wellington are doing this to you.
Is that Dan Cole's fault? Did he just change the world of hookers?
Yeah, well...
Hanging out on the wing?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I know Fitz used to hang out there, but he couldn't do that.
No, that's right. There's no outside break and defend. And...
Could you even do that, JK, out there? No comment. I'm taking this.
No comment.
No comment.
Very impressive. Of course, we have Bernadine Oliver Kirby as well. And Bernie, what's your moment?
Oh, look, you're talking about hookers. Ash Dixon, unbelievable, crashing over for the Magpies for the winner. They provided yet another upset this Mitre 10, beating Canterbury. So pleased for Ash Dixon. He's just been in sublime form. His passion, his leadership, both those qualities on display right to the 80th minute. And in fact, This try that he scores takes him to second equal on the try-scoring points table. 3 tries from 3 games. Be happy with that? Yes, very happy with that. And the celebrations after that match, they were akin to a Shield challenge changing hands. We've already seen 3 different teams hold it, 3 different unions in as many weeks. The Loggerwood, it's bouncing around the country, isn't it? First, Taranaki robbing Canterbury. They held it for a full 8 days, the 3rd shortest tenure in the Shield's history. Then Otago burgled it from the Naki. Poor old Bulls, they'd barely finished their ticker tape parade. But how is this for an inspirational halftime message from the Otago assistant coach, Ryan Martin?
Yeah, pretty pumped to be honest. A really simple message for our boys. We've been here in 2018 against Waikato and we successfully lifted the Shield from them. And we just mentioned around the level of commitment required here. One of our players ruptured his testicle in that match, so it's nuts on the line for the second half.
Putting your body on the line to a whole new level. Feast your eyes on this. Maybe don't. A snapshot of just what it means to win the Shield. I'm surprised you're not there, Joey, in some shape or form. The obligatory pic of yourself with the goods, the Shield that is, and channeling the inner Freddie Mercury, don't you think? Yes, Mum would be so proud. Otago with a 30-19 victory in Inglewood. And with the frequent flyer miles accumulating for the Shield, Hawke's Bay's up next for a challenge, and it's this weekend. The Magpies, no doubt, already packed and assembled in the departure lounge. Well, already departed Ma'anonu, 2 years after saying au revoir to Toulon. The former All Black is saying bonjour again. The French club's been hammered with injuries and the 38-year-old has been picked up as cover. Now, Nonu originally joined Toulon after the 2015 Rugby World Cup. Would have been nice to see him play Mitre 10, wouldn't it? But not quite sure the pay packet would be comparable, though. More important than the pay is the play for South Africa. They still haven't kicked off their domestic competition. That starts on the 10th of October, with 2 teams playing trial matches this weekend. Rassie Erasmus, he has serious doubts that the team will even be ready, and he said they need at least 6 games to be match ready for the Rugby Championship. Will they even make it? Well, here's a Rugby Championship plot twist. Argentina have just boosted their coaching ranks. May we introduce their new assistant? You know it, former Wallaby coach Michael Cheika. It's understood he'll help with the logistics and the tactical advice, so better change those line-out calls, boys. And pictures, Justin, just to show how the Aussies reacted to news of Cheika's posting. Yeah. Their long-standing sponsor Qantas may have taken off, but the Wallabies, they are back on full pay after taking a decent haircut over COVID. It's understood that the squad has pulled some of their match payments for redistribution to their Super Rugby AU counterparts. Very, very cool. Perhaps they could do a quick whip around for some Uber Eats delivery for the ABs in isolation on Christmas Day. What do you reckon? On that note, there will be no change to the rules for the All Blacks, who will require quarantining after the Rugby Championship. And this is from our Prime Minister, as the ABs look to spend Christmas ordering from the room service menu. However, a hotspot could be possible. A trans-Tasman bubble with just a few Australian states. More on the he said, she said, they said, we said on the Rugby Championship saga later in the show. So much to talk about that one, Christy.
Absolutely, plenty to talk about. Well, we need to go back to one thing. Rob's Canterbury, what's that about?
Canterbury, Rob!
I love seeing Canterbury.
Oh, come on. You mean this Canterbury?
The other thing that surprised me is Cheika doing logistics. What is that? Oh, he's going to order the bus, is he?
Exactly. OK, well, let's talk about the current Ranfurly Shield holders then. Otago, they've won it 3 times in the last 7 years. That was after breaking a 56-year drought in 2013. So I headed down to the airport to see what all the fuss was about when they arrived home.
Holders of the Ranfurly Shield, it is coming.
Nasi, what does it mean for you to win this Shield back?
Oh, look, it's obviously got a lot of history, and yeah, it's been a long time since I've last held the Shield, and I remember the first time I made Canterbury and just watching the boys play in Waikato, and I remember how big the whole week was, and there's some people who never had a challenge their whole career, so for me to be able to play 2 games, I'm pretty fortunate, yeah.
You probably never thought you'd get your hands on the Shield again after you were playing rugby on the other side of the world, and here you are back here.
No, yeah, honestly, it's crazy because, yeah, been away 5 years and I guess I never thought that I'd get a chance at the Ranfurly Shield again, and can't reiterate how good the boys played in the weekend. So
You look after that. Congratulations. Keep your boys going, ladies.
well, those are good, MC.
Yeah, man, cooked it myself.
Yeah, mate. So just want to ask you a few questions about the game. What does it mean to you?
To what?
Shield.
What does the Shield mean?
Yeah, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, you got straight from nothing to like real deep
It's real
into it.
deep. Right in there, mate.
I don't think it's so much what it means to me, it's what it means to the community. I think that's where you get your meaning from, is what I sort of get. It's pretty cool. I remember the first time my grandparents showed me a photo of Nana and Pop of when they got a photo with it 50 odd years beforehand, and that was the coolest thing for me. And then you see it last year, sorry, 2018, and then now there's community support with it. It's pretty cool, mate. It's pretty cool.
What about the antics off the field, mate? How did you get last night?
We were good, actually.
Yeah?
We were good. We sat in the team room, had a couple of beers.
Whopper's just a bit angry because he's just about to eat. Worst time to interrupt a big man.
Everybody probably says the same things, but it's cool to be around guys who haven't had it before, the young guys, and I still get like everybody gets a buzz. You never get older winning the Shield. You never get over it. It's still every time's different, and awesome seeing the boys come today all smiling and seeing the old Misty there.
Well, for Otago fans, it was a beautiful thing seeing them win the Ranfurly Shield over the weekend. But you may have missed something at halftime. One of the best interviews of all time. Check it out.
Yeah, pretty pumped to be honest. A really simple message for our boys. We've been here in 2018 against Waikato and we successfully lifted the Shield from them. And we just mentioned around the level of commitment required here. One of our players ruptured his testicle in that match, so it's nuts on the line for the second half.
And the man himself is joining us now live. Ryan Martin, welcome into the breakdown. Tell me, how did you say that with a straight face?
Oh, to be honest, it was a theme we had running the entire week. So we actually carried a little scorched almond around in a bottle and shook it at training to remind the boys of the commitment required for that week. And so it was pretty easy to deliver it.
So, Ryan, actually, what did that translate to from a technical point of view for the second half, besides worrying about everyone's whaipolis? What did that mean technically for you as a coach?
Yeah, the layman's terms technically for us were to obviously tackle around the legs and win the breakdowns and put the ball in the right area of the field.
Nice.
Rhino, I've got a sort of a three-part here for you, mate. First, congratulations on winning the Shield. Secondly, on an outstanding halftime interview. The other thing I want to mention is if you guys can do a job for us Tasman fans and ex-players on holding off the Hawke's Bay this weekend, then Tasman can come down the week after and do the job against you boys. Can you do that for all us Tasman fans, please?
Yes, we'll definitely be doing our best to hold on to the Shield, and we got a lot of energy from last year defending it in the stadium, so we're pretty pumped around our second time getting to do it this year.
Yeah, Ryan Marshy here. Look, first of all, again, congratulations for what you achieved at the weekend, and you certainly did say that what you're going to do in the second half, there's no doubt about that. I saw Michael Collins give an interview at the airport, said that all the boys are a bit dusty. That dust must have worn off pretty quick. That was a hell of a reaction. Did you expect that when you got back to Dunedin for the people to be there?
I think being involved in 2018 when we brought the Shield back, it just has a mystical power about it, and it unites communities. There's so much history around great teams and great men that have played for it. So we were very wary of what that means for the region. And we made sure we kept the cap on our celebrations to that night. All the boys got to the sauna at Les Mills and worked out the dirty water the next day. So our preps are back on song for the week.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest risk, I guess, and always has been regardless, is the next challenge. So, I mean, what do you do this week to make sure that you can switch on? Because last thing you need is to be sending it back to the Hawke's Bay so that Tasman can get a crack. No, the other way around.
We want them to beat Hawke's Bay, mate, so Tasman get the crack at
we now, is it?
Of course it's we.
Yeah, I think it's just about obviously enjoying the night and looking forward to our first defence. There's a few guys that were involved in the 2013 team that turned it over after a week's celebration. So we've, as I mentioned before, we've been pretty happy around our celebration, and now we're back on job this week.
Well, cheers, mate. Does that B stand for what I think it stands for, or actually Boston? back in the halftime speech up, mate.
Yeah, it's got a double meaning, but I'm actually head coach of the Boston Free Jacks, so I thought I'd get a wee shout out to them as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and all the very best this weekend against the Hawke's Bay.
Thank you very much for having me on.
What a man.
Oh, you do not play in the card school with them, though, that poker face?
Well, tell you, the thing I found interesting, a scorched almond. See, I would have gone with a set of cherries or something else, because scorched almond...
There was only one. That's why it was one nut.
Well, one cherry, because the scorched almond would melt. It's silly. It's just silly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your own Shield stories.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No, Marshy.
Don't want to talk about Marshies.
Not tonight, even though it is after 8:30. But if the log of wood could talk, what stories would it tell, JK?
Oh, what's on tour stays on tour. I think the Shield invented that. No, look, I think there's just, before we carry on, there's a serious part of this. You've got to defend it properly. Like, it's no use holding it for a week. The Taranaki will be really disappointed, right? Yep. And it creates stories the more you hold it. It's great for the community if you can hang on to it for a little while. And then, like, I remember we lost the Shield. We just lost it. Like, where is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, no one knew where it was. But then someone had left it at someone else's place at a party, and they handed it in. It's not like leaving your cell phone to get stolen. Someone who finds the Shield.
They
handed
handed it in. Where to? Lost property?
Yeah, they came to Eden Park. Yeah.
Well, it's not we either, is it? Yeah, well, there's always somebody given responsibility to look after the Shield.
Peter Whakelota. You wanted to see the Shield, you had to go out to Manorera, to his house.
And he lost
during the week. Yeah.
Okay.
You've got a few tales to tell of your own, don't you? Some Shield stories, Marshy?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to play in a few Shield games. Winning the Shield was a great moment, but also in '95 when I first came into Canterbury, we had the Shield and got absolutely thumped by a very good Auckland side at the end of that year. But those were the days where there was 35,000 people at the old Lancaster Park, and Shield Rugby, there was no Super Rugby. Shield Rugby was everything. So that is fond memories, and I agree with you. Like what we got taught by that very good Auckland side when I did have another go in the 2000s to have a crack at it, and that's how long it took because of All Black Rugby, was you've got to go out and win it each week, not defend it. If you're not prepared to go out and win it against the opposition, then you're quite likely to lose it. So, great history.
What's this mystical power that people talk about when they're talking about the Ranfurly Shield?
Don't ask me. I've never won it. I've played for it twice at Tasman. That's why I was alluding to that we need Auckland as Tasman Otago as Tasman fans to do a job so Tasman have a first crack. But I think it's just got a real aura about it. These guys can probably speak to it more. That it just connects the community.
It does, and it's covered it, isn't it? And the hard thing about the Shield is that it's really difficult to hold on to, isn't it, JK? Like from week to week, you have such big moments where a team full of passion comes down to try and take it, not just for the team, for the community, like Michael Collins said. So then you have a week off and then somebody else comes in your door. and I think that's why you appreciate it so much, because it's so difficult to A, win and B, hold on to.
In Test match rugby, for the All Blacks, if you play Italy, if you play anyone, they're going to make it the game of their life. And I think that's why the Ranfurly Shield's so important, because no matter who you're playing, Poverty Bay, East Coast, they come out there and they give it their best shot. And then what happens afterwards is you have to carry on that tradition. So you take it out with you. It's part of the family. So it travels with you, gets lost, it goes to people's houses, because it is just part of the family, and that's the beauty of it.
The stories of the Shield, I'm sure we could go on and on, but after 3 weeks, the Shield has changed hands 3 times, as Bernie has said. Let's take a look at the points table and see where things stack up. The Premiership, Joey, you're on top.
Yep, they're pretty happy about that. I think hopefully we'll be able to lock that down till the end of the competition.
I tell you what's interesting, Joey, though, isn't it? Which, with Tasman sitting on the top, is where Canterbury's sitting. It'll be a very, very long time. And I'm not just saying that because of that zone, that they have found themselves in that position.
Struggling this season.
Yeah, because they used to riding from the top.
Can we just stop on that a second?
Let's embrace that.
Why? Yeah, why do you think, Marsh? I'm serious, mate. I'm not taking the mickey, but I've never seen them lose 2 in a row.
No, and you know, obviously the Shield challenge against Taranaki was an absolute belter of a game that could have gone either way. But then, you know, the upset at the weekend against Hawke's Bay when you need to bounce back after disappointment. Many changes. I can't put my finger on it, but boy, they've got some challenges ahead of them because the top 4 teams in that competition are really tough. So
the crossover matches have been just as interesting. Let's take a look at the championship ladder. Tell you what strikes me here, Southland. Third. Marshy. This is unbelievable. 2 wins at home for the first time since 2016. How good? Knocking over North Harbour and Hawke's Bay this year?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been a long time since anybody's been able to put their hands together and clap for Southland over the last 5 years. But I was down there for their first game and it was just full of you know, absolutely guts and determination like old Southland teams of the past. Not a team full of superstars, but look determined to win, JK, don't they? Yeah,
well, when they changed the Mitre 10 Cup, we said on the show it's a sprint. You've got to get off to a good start. Look at Southland, get a couple of wins, get a bit of confidence. Look at Canterbury. You know, it just mounts on you after week 2. So, I mean, you look at Southland now, you think, good on you. You know, I mean, you hang on for one more game, you're halfway through the tournament. And then you see Counties Manukau with one of the best players ever to play for our country getting pumped 2 weeks in a row.
It's still a good competition, right? Even though our All Blacks aren't playing anymore, when you still don't know who's going to win games, it's a great comp.
Well, when you're saying, say, Hawke's Bay top of the championship going against Canterbury and taking it down to the last minute, and you say the backlash that you used to see from Canterbury when they get beaten in that first game and then they would normally come out and put a 50-point hiding on any team. And then Hawke's Bay are in it right to the end and get it done. I think it's just a fantastic competition, especially those top 4 teams of the championship. They can beat anyone in the... especially the Stags down there. Don't you know, underestimate them at their peril this year.
And they're back home again this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually here to test you guys. Don't know if you know that. But you at home as well. I've got a quick quiz question for you. So here it is. Who is the highest try scorer in Ranfurly Shield history? Take a think about that over the break. You 2 at home, and we'll get back to you. But just like that, international rugby is finally back up and running. Next week, Bledisloe 1, the All Blacks versus the Wallabies in Wellington. The breakdown will be on the road at Pornicky Rugby Club, of course, home to Grant Nisbet and Jim Kays.
Here's Reese. How much does this guy entertain you? Oh! They can't put him away. White has scored a brilliant try. And the Wallabies have a famous victory at Optus Stadium in Perth. In fact, it's a hiding. And Leonard Brown off the bench. All Blacks hang on to the Bledisloe Cup in decisive fashion.
The highest try scorer in Ranfurly Shield history. That's the question that I put out to you just before the break. And who knows the answer to this, JK?
No idea.
No idea?
At all.
Do you two? You two think you know what it is? Do you want to rock off for it?
So I think, for me, it's JK's wing partner, Terry Wright, the Great White Battler with the Mo.
Would you have to agree?
I would agree with that, actually.
You would agree?
Or Tin Can Bay.
Yeah.
Zinzanbrook.
That's where I was going. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't actually claim that. I got that off Ken Lehman and Ian Smith.
It had to be somebody from that incredible era of the sort of mid-'80s through to the early 90s. That team was... And then you think, well, Fitzy spent a lot of time on the wing, but it was either JK or Terry Wright, and I thought on this show it's probably not going to be JK, so it's Terry Wright.
What did he weigh?
We can't pump your tyres anymore, so I was like, no, it's got to be Terry Wright.
55 kegs.
55
One of the
kegs.
scariest things I've ever seen with Terry Wright. And I've got to tell you the story. He played for Maris, great player, unbelievable player. And back in those days, we were practising the fullback coming outside the wing as a double miss. We called double miss, and he hit the post in practice. and there was no pads on it. I just walked off. I thought, no, he's dead. He got up, shook himself off, and he was fine.
Well, well done if you got that one right at home as well. 53 tries he scored. But now we move on to this trans-Tasman battle. Well, the battle of Sanzar and New Zealand rugby. In fact, Bernadine, Oliver Kirby, you can declutter this mess for us.
Oh, mess being the operative word. They not only tried claiming the Pavlova, crowded house, far lap and flat whites, but the Aussies have cut our lunch on the Rugby Championship. Or have they? New Zealand was originally awarded the hosting duties for the 4-team event. It was a bright light to illuminate an unsettled and unconventional year of sport. But it soon became apparent our strict quarantining rules wouldn't be bent for any man, woman, fullback or first five. So Australia seized an opportunity and offered Sanzar a package they simply couldn't pass up. Friday, the 11th of September, a statement confirmed the shift in host countries, a huge blow to New Zealand. But things were about to get even worse. A quick glance at the calendar, no need for an abacus, would show that the dates announced by Sanzar last week would have our All Blacks ordering room service for Christmas lunch. Under the original arrangement, with New Zealand hosting, all countries voted and agreed on a 6-week tournament, which meant the Aussies wouldn't have been home for Christmas either. That's detailed in the notes from a Sanzar CEO call on September the 17th, so it seems New Zealand was fully on board. Dave Rennie says they proposed 6 tests in 5 weeks to avoid the Christmas clash, but he quotes, "We didn't get any support for that." Now it seems like New Zealand is railing against precisely the same predicament the Aussies were facing. Rennie supports the New Zealand request for a change in itinerary, but says it needs to be unanimous with the 4 nations agreeing. NZR was blindsided, and CEO Mark Robinson admirably fronted media to say as much, and they're now considering a whole lot of different options at the moment and looking to put some solutions on the table very shortly. TikTok. What could that mean? 6-day breaks between games, midweek tests, no final test? Has New Zealand even agreed to the itinerary and confirmed that they'll take part? And is South Africa even coming? So where are we at? This is All Blacks coach Ian Foster speaking today.
There was a deal based on the 5th. We feel that Sanzar's reneged on that, so we'll put some solutions and so we'll wait and see. Oh, look, player welfare is at the top of everyone's mind. And so you just can't pull it out and say that's a reason for doing Plan A, because there's other factors with player welfare, like the length of the season's another issue with player welfare, and taking players away from family, shortening the period between the end of one year and the start of the next year. That's a player welfare issue as well. So you just can't hang your hat on one perspective and say that's the ultimate, because there's a whole lot of variables at play there.
So, no further ahead then. The Trans-Tasman bubble is again being floated, but this time with selected Aussie states are on top of the COVID battle. This could well be the perfect solution, so everyone is home and around their own dinner tables for turkey and trifle or piggy and pav to ensure no Christmas Grinch, only Christmas cheer this year. It will rage on, Kirsty, but for how long?
Exactly. Still plenty to go under the bridge and a ton of questions still to be answered then. Let's go to Australia now. Of course, we have Hamish McLennan joining us, the chairman of Rugby Australia. Hamish, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to jump straight into it and ask you, are these dates for the Rugby Championship set in stone, or could the All Blacks still be home in time for Christmas?
Hi, good evening and great to see you. Look, on September 17, at a Sanzar meeting, those dates were agreed. We are really conscious of player welfare and trying to do the right thing by everyone. The schedule has been locked in thus far. We know as of today that there are some other options being put on the table, so we need to reconcile those and have a look at it. But on numerous occasions, and for the record, and actually going back to August 27, we at RA said that we would be prepared to entertain a 5-week competition, but that was knocked on the head by New Zealand, South Africa and Argentina. And then on September 17, we voted with New Zealand for a 5-week competition. But as you know, it's Sanzar who runs the joint venture. And so we were defeated in that regard, and we moved towards locking in a 6-week competition.
So, Hamish, why is this argument still out there about the 5th or the 17th? I mean, over here in New Zealand, the finger is really being pointed at Australia, saying that you guys don't want to do this. So everyone's agreed on the 17th. Why is the 5th even out there?
Look, I think a 6-week competition is the most commercially viable, which we should note that more money will be made in Australia with a 6-week competition, and that will mean that more money will go back into the pockets of the Kiwis. And so we're really conscious of driving that in that regard. It was always a 6-week competition at the September 17 board meeting of SANZAAR. SANZAAR runs the joint venture. It's not Australia dominating. And I got to just make it clear, we were the ones that voted with New Zealand for a 5-week competition. And we were originally defeated at the very beginning around this. So it's a SANZAAR issue. South Africa and Argentina want a 6-week competition. And we can't change that.
Hamish, just also been reported over here that Andy Marinos is going for the CEO of Australian Rugby, so he's conflicted. I mean, is there any truth in that?
I've read the press from New Zealand. I think it's a complete cheap shot. Andy Marinos is a fine man, an ethical guy who's done the right thing for SANZAAR over many years. He is not shortlisted for the RA CEO role. He's obviously a very well-known rugby identity. He's highly respected here and around the world, but he is not on our shortlist. I oversee the subcommittee that is looking at the CEO search. No one has interviewed Andy, and I haven't spoken to him about the CEO search.
Thank you.
Hamish, lots of rumours floating around. You mentioned it before about South Africa and Argentina. How confident is Australian Rugby that those two teams will be involved in this tournament?
You know, we're as confident as we can be at this point in time. We're living, you know, in a bizarre situation where you're trying to plan for the future, but every day there's just a new issue that gets thrown up. But Gus Piché, Yuri Roux, they're committed to sending their teams over. I think the TRC is going to be a phenomenal tournament. We're looking forward to having the All Blacks over. You guys will be formidable. You're obviously such a great rugby nation. So we're confident that we'll get it away. And what we're seeing is the New South Wales government in particular becoming more flexible in terms of trying to create an environment and the right sort of bubbles where everyone can play the competition.
Hamish, Joey Wheeler here, mate. I've just got a question around that final test. There's a few rumours swirling that the All Blacks could potentially boycott that final test. Are you at all concerned about that?
I'd be really concerned about a boycott. I think it'd be a tragedy for the TRC and the game. I think it's 10 weeks away. And so we're seeing the restrictions just unwinding a little bit here. I think the New South Wales government's done a great job with contact tracing and managing the disease. We've had 2 days in a row where there've been no new COVID cases. So I think we just need to take a deep breath and stand back a little bit and then, you know, hope and plan that it works out well. But at the moment, we're feeling confident that all will be fine, but we are 10 weeks away from that happening.
Hamish, 5 weeks versus 6 weeks. Can you explain to me safety versus welfare? Because, you know, if you're talking about being in Christmas for quarantine, anyone, I mean, all around the world, sports people do it. You know, soccer players do it. Joey did it when he played and got his yen in Japan, played on Christmas Day. That's just what you do. So is the 5 weeks, is it welfare? Is it really a worry about quarantine, or is it actually safety? South Africa, Argentina actually not being ready to play this contact sport?
Well, don't forget, South Africa and Argentina haven't had the preparation that both the Kiwis and the Aussies have had. I think it's more about safety really at the end of the day. And, you know, the South Africans and the Argentinians will have the same issues around being back for Christmas. But we do want, I've got to stress, we do want everyone to be home for Christmas. We've got to make sure that the governments work together to make that happen. And there are some options that are being tabled in the next few days to see how we can do that.
Hamish, we've seen a lot of chat in the papers, on TV, through the media around you guys, Australian Rugby Union and New Zealand Rugby Union going head to head. Pretty straight up question, do you blokes even like each other, or you guys even like each other? Where are you at?
I like all Kiwis, actually, you know, from a personal perspective. You guys are such a great rugby nation. I say it over and over again. I've travelled there widely to New Zealand. I think you've got a great culture, a good government. You're really nice people. We want to beat you on the paddock. I think we're the underdogs going into this tournament, but we've got a lot of young players. There is respect there. I think the relationship is at probably the lowest ebb that it's ever been at. But, I'm going to try my hardest to fix that over time.
Hamish, I just want to check something with you. Did New Zealand Rugby sign off on this competition as is? Because at the moment, they say they haven't.
I've seen board minutes from September 17 where the 6-week competition was signed off. So there's a lot of he said, she said at the moment. It's a bit messy, I've got to say, but I think the focus should now be on completing the TRC, getting everyone to play the games, and get our governments to work together to get your guys out for Christmas.
Hamish, well done. We've bombarded you a bit with that Rugby Championship. So I just wanted to tap into you a little bit about the bigger picture. Small international window this year, uncertainty about Super Rugby. Ideally for you, for Australian rugby, where would you like to be positioned in moving forward from this point?
In terms of competition structures for next year, I would like I'd like a Trans-Tasman competition. I think COVID's throwing up a whole lot of issues, as we've discussed tonight. I'm not sure where that's going to land, but I think ultimately, we've got a really powerful Anzac block that we should be leveraging, working together. I think we're better players when we play against you guys. And it will only get better over time. We've got a good crop of young guys coming through. So I think the competition will improve. And then I think we've got to work together to see how we leverage our strength on the global stage.
Hamish, around that, do you think you need 5 teams in that Super Rugby competition or 3? And secondly, second part comp, can you actually afford to have teams in a Super Rugby competition? Because you're losing Qantas as your major sponsor.
Look, that's true. The interesting thing is that within half an hour of the press release going out that we'd lost Qantas, who, like Air New Zealand, are doing it really tough, we had some very good inquiry from blue chip Australian companies. So we're very confident that we'll be able to replace Qantas. They were great partners, and we've said that we'll do whatever we can. Money's tight at the moment, and that's why we've got to get the TRC away. So it's been proven that if we host it here in Australia, we will put more money back in the pockets of New Zealand rugby, and I think that's a good thing for everyone. We're just going to battle our way through it. So I'm confident that Australian rugby is coming back. We've got our challenges, but we're not going to take it lying down.
Hamish, what needs to happen to recover the relationship across SANZAAR, but most importantly, with us Anzacs? We've always been close, we've always worked together. So what do we need to do to get our people around the table properly again, working together?
I think the fundamental issue from us is that you've got to respect our position. We know we haven't been as good as we should have been. And there are some systemic issues that we're dealing with within Australian rugby, right from grassroots rugby right through to our high performance area. But if you look at the combined history of both countries on and off the field, we're very close partners, brothers and sisters. So I would just say respect what we have to do. Over the long term, if we can afford to get 5 teams into a 10 or 12 team competition, we will deliver for you guys, but it just takes time. And the great irony, when you look at the Aussie competition that just happened, that you would expect the Waratahs to be better, but they were beaten by the Rebels. And so I'm faced with the decision of cutting 2 or 3 teams out of our competition, and we took great offence to the way that was handled and the way we were instructed around the competition was going to come together. And I just don't think that that was either fair or it was the right way to handle it. But we're prepared to accept that that's all water under the bridge, but we've got to get focused on building a new competition for next year and beyond.
Hamish, thank you very much for joining us. We do really appreciate your time and for answering all the tough questions like a pro.
Pleasure, anytime. Thank you.
Well, where do we start?
Well, first of all, you'd have to think Australian rugby are in good hands. They are not easy questions at the moment, and I thought he was very upfront. He wasn't deceptive. He laid all the cards on the table financially, said where he wants to go, and obviously was pretty transparent as well about the Rugby Championship. So future bodes well. If we can get him at the table with the New Zealand Rugby Union, then it's got to be a good thing.
The worrying thing for me was probably some of the things he said around the conversation with the NZR that we didn't really know about. I thought that there's obviously a little bit going on behind the scenes that we're not hearing about, and he was an open book to that and really appreciated his honesty, articulated it perfectly, and I think we come out of that knowing a little bit more of where everyone sits, and I think we need to get back to that table and, like you said, JK, repair that relationship, because I think we need Australia as much as they need us.
Oh, look, let's not be silly about this. They've got 20 million people. Their Qantas deal the next Qantas deal will be bigger. They can pay their players more. This is a big economy. We cannot go without Australia. The thing that's been frustrating me is people not answering the questions. We nailed Hamish and he answered them all, you know, and that's all you want to know. I could sit around that board table with him. I know I could argue with him and he'd tell me to shut up, JK, and we'd have a decent conversation, and then you agree to disagree and commit. The All Blacks have always lived like that, Marshy. You agree to disagree and then commit. Bringing your dirty washing out into the public and murking it, I don't know where that's coming from, I won't make a comment, but it's not doing anyone any good. I mean, the game at the moment, the trans-Tasman relationships have never been worse. So it looks like he wants to come to the party. Maybe we just need to step forward and try again. I mean, we're blaming a wee bit too much lately. You know, this welfare versus safety thing, you know, the Warriors stayed away 5.5 months. This is COVID, people. People around the world are sacrificing. I'm sure if you said to Aaron Smith or if you said to Bowden Barrett, mate, would you stay in Christmas 2 days? You can make Christmas up. Have it 2 days later with your family. It doesn't really matter, does it?
No, I absolutely...
I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong. I might be out of touch.
And like Joey, I played on, trained on Christmas Day and played on Boxing Day. And New Year's Day, which is a challenge, but you know that's that part of the world, and you just get on with it and you adapt. And I think what we've got to do now is we've got to adapt, and we've got to make our way through this period that we're in now, and that's going to take a lot from everybody, from the union, from the players, to get this ship that's slightly off kilter at the moment back on a pathway where we've got this vibrant game that's earning everybody good money, and people want to sit down and watch it, and everybody's back on track.
I've got a question for you both. Do we do the full Super 12 Aussie New Zealand teams, all of them?
Yep.
I don't think so, no.
Why not, Joey?
Oh, I just think for the sake of the competition, I think Australia need to have just 3 teams for the strength of it, for the integrity of that competition. If they had 3 teams, it would be the best thing for Australian rugby.
I'd argue they were making improvements. At the start of Super Rugby, at the start of this year, I think, well, the Highlanders got beaten by the Rebels, didn't they?
Yeah, true, yeah.
I think that they were starting to grow. That's just my personal opinion.
What about a hybrid, Joe? What about a hybrid where we play a Rugby Aotearoa and they play theirs and then we come together?
Yeah, why not? Like across, like the top.
Then we bring the Japanese in.
Well, the Japanese is always going to come into the mix.
They should. The money.
Money. Well, if that was a lot to take in and you need a bit of a breather, we have the perfect thing for you. We went down to Invercargill. Well, Joey Wheeler did anyway and caught up with one of the oldest players in the Mitre 10 Cup.
G'day guys, I've made my way south to the beautiful metropolis that is Invercargill in search of Jason Cabbage Rutledge and to find out how the bloody hell he's playing at the age of 42. Right, let's go track the Cabbage down. I'll head this way. Oh, when we're talking longevity in the game, there's only one man in Invercargill who knows it better than Jason Rutledge, and that's Tim Shadbolt. Yeah, Tim. Great to see you. Lovely to see you. Longevity. You know a little thing or two about that being the longest serving mayor in New Zealand. And now Jason becoming the oldest player in Stag's history. What's going on? Like, how do you blokes do it?
Well, we've got a lot of sheep in Invercargill and I reckon they're inspirational.
Stan, #1 Stags fan.
What's happening? Oh, I'm actually not too bad, mate. Just here on the pasture, having a look around.
But how does a bloke still play professional footy at 42? What's in the water down here?
A few oysters in him, I'm guessing. A couple of mussels. I've heard a rumour he actually sleeps outside year round. But all that sort of stuff just keeps him going. And yeah, like it's just good Southland mana. And if the Southland terraces believe, the Southland team believes.
Righto, Stan. Let you get back to the terraces. Antlers up, buddy.
Thanks, mate. Antlers up. Have a go, Southland. Let's go.
Well, a couple of Rugby Southland vehicles. Cabbage can't be too far away. Oh, I'm looking for Jason. Can anyone help me? Jason Rutledge.
The Cabbage.
Yes.
Song Frisbee, how are you?
Good, mate.
He'll either be on the tools or out on the training paddock.
So you know a bit about Jason?
Know a wee bit about him, a bit of a Southland legend.
Now, being a good friend of Cabbage Simon, you must have a favourite moment of his illustrious career.
Probably when de Malmonch come down here and there was a lot of chat about he'd been chucking plenty of tin round and setting a few bench press records and all this, and he come down and had a good crack at the line, and Cabbage just stopped him like he hit a brick wall and then drove him back.
Almost got it down. Look at this.
That's a hell of a tackle then. He's a strong, strong man.
I've made it to Southland training. The Stags are out here, and I've just spotted the man, the myth, the 42-year-old legend in all his bald glory. You can smell his mana from here. Looking sharp, just got a wink from him. A little bit excited by that. The calves aren't that imposing, the thighs, but definitely the upper body, the neck, the traps. There we go, look at that, on the money. Running a bit of a Jeff Wilson lid, which is always nice. Skip, got a bit of time for me, son?
Always for you.
Cabbage, 42 years of age. Hell of an effort, eh?
Yeah, outstanding rig on the man, actually. Probably one of the better in the squad. Puts me to shame, so very impressed. He said his secret is his nutrition and CrossFit.
Mate, he's massive here, eh? He's wicked, good man to be around, helps out all the young boys. And when he comes and says something, everyone listens.
We can all be playing at 42, to be pretty stoked.
Keep charging on, I say.
Bloody oath. Yeah.
Good on you, boy. Get into it. Get out there. Get out there in the beautiful sun, eh? Sun on your backs. Lovely. And here comes my main man, Jace. Cabbage, got a minute for me? We can have a quick yarn?
Well, I've got to shoot back to work, mate. How about you catch me down the work site?
Oh, yeah, it'll only take 5 minutes.
Oh, people are calling, mate. Under the pump.
All right, yeah, we'll catch you on the work site then, mate. Go plumb that house, boy. Cabbage. Finally found you, Cabbage.
Joey, you tracked me down. Good man.
Off the footy field, straight onto the tools.
Grab a seat. Got a brand new one there for you.
Plush. I love sitting on a toilet. Nothing better, eh? Straight off the footy paddock, straight on the tools, mate. How good's that? Old school as.
Yeah. No, it's the way things are at the moment. Just got to try to keep people happy.
The oldest player to now represent the Stags. How does that feel?
It's probably quite a cool one, actually. It's probably as you go on, the kids might be able to say Dad was the oldest ever Stags.
One thing we all know about your family, the Rutledge family, your father played a hell of a lot for the Stags. You've played a hell of a lot for the Stags. You've been involved in some really successful Stags teams.
One of the finest moments in Southland rugby history. They've won the Ranfurly Shield.
And what sort of attracted you to come back this year?
Well, I've always said that only great players sort of get to retire, and I hadn't retired. I was like, if they'd rang me up, I would have came and played club rugby this year. I've played club rugby right through, and they had a few injuries. The Mayday call came out, and yeah, I was more than rapt to play.
Young group, the Stags. How do you get on with the chat in the changing rooms amongst those young lads? They obviously sit in front of their phone a lot. How do you go with that? Because you don't even answer texts.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm probably never been one for that much banter and chat anyway, so I just sort of sit in the background and just take things in.
It'll be a little bit different to your day, probably in the showers as well, I'd say. You'd be the only bloke stripping it all down, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, I think Lambo chucks it out there too, so there's not many of them. There's definitely not many at club rugby nowadays, and you sort of get a funny look, but I think it's a tradition you've got to keep, don't you?
Oh, I agree, totally agree.
I'd start getting questions asked by all the old fellas if I started showing them a jock.
National record, A.E. Woods, Hawke's Bay. Played at 49 years of age. Yeah. Any chance? What are the chances you think of you, going another 7 years and then lacing them up again?
That's pretty special, isn't it? I think if you're playing club rugby at that age, that's pretty awesome even. So that might even be a goal to be able to play club rugby with my son. He's 14 now, so You might give him another 4 years maybe, so I might make 46, but yeah, 49 might be stretching things.
You dotted down a few times, you should have had 3, but let's not talk about that moment.
It's going to go, oh, no, she's not. Going to back herself into the corner, what a finish.
What an eventful week 4 it has been.
And bang, she goes through. She's going to go all the way.
Ako he iti he nui ngā kau.
Did Kendra have any words for you after that little moment?
Oh, always, always. Yeah, I live with her, so she's got worse, mate. She rips me out all the time.
She is such a good sport, Grace Brooker. Well done for taking that one on the chin, and make sure you tune into the Farah Palmer Cup highlights show every Wednesday, Sky Sport from 7:30 p.m. Fantastic competition. We need to talk about that Jason Rutledge story though. That was fantastic, Joe. Some of your best work, I reckon.
Oh, he's a champion bloke. Like, it really is. Bleeds maroon and gold, just a champion, down-to-earth guy. I loved his words around only great footy players earn the right to retire. And I was like, after, I was like, mate, you've played 1,000 games for the Stags. You're a great. Like, you've got the right to retire. But I honestly think he could be going when he's 50. I actually think, I saw the glitter in his eye when I said 49 for A.E. Woods of Hawke's Bay. And the ears pricked up on old Cabbage. I think he might be a chance.
Yeah, that was
he's in great shape.
That was a challenge.
Yeah, he's in great shape, though.
Well, that is it. That is all we have time for. I was going to ask you about what you're looking forward to this weekend. I'm sure it's receiving your surfboard in the mail in the next few days, JK. Enjoy if you're getting out there. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully Canterbury can get a victory for you. And enjoy the Ranfurly Shield final game of the round down in Dunedin. It's Otago versus Hawke's Bay. We'll see you soon.
Mention around the level of commitment required here.
They have a crack at the Ranfurly Shield. I mean, there's a lot of guys that never get the shot, so...
That's a delightful strike. Garoi, that is just stunning. Ioane sees the gap and through. Josh Ioane in the shield. Heads back to the south. Otago.
The boys just trusted the process. We gave it a good crack.
I'm bloody stoked for the boys.
Yep. Next week versus Hawke's Bay, they had a good win last night, so yeah, we'll enjoy tonight and then focus for next week.